everyone, I am Sacrobolic, your Envoy of Hope, and welcome to the final What I Watched This Week of 2018. Let's just jump right into it. I started this week off with Beatless Final Stage. Final Stage isn't really so much as another season of Beatless, so much as the final 4 episodes of the show that got put off because of time and presumably budget issues. As I mentioned in a previous episode, Beatless as a show is decently complex to the point where it seemed like most of the people that watched it didn't even fully understand it. But if you did understand it and you carry over your understanding into Final Stage, admittedly the gap between the months when I finished watching the original Beatless to when watching the Final Stage probably should have watched those recap episodes that everyone complained about, but I didn't. So even I was a little lost when I jumped right back into this, but Final Stage itself doesn't really add anything thematically to the show, and mostly just serves to confirm theories that had you been paying enough attention will probably have come to by yourself at this point. And just kind of wraps the show up nicely and concludes the ending that it deserved. Overall, pretty good, but, you know, it's really just the ending of Beatless, so not a lot to talk about. The next one, Uchu Senkin Tiramisu, it was actually a viewer recommendation. The first viewer recommendation I've ever gotten, actually. And it is, honestly, I don't remember what the plot was, like the overall plot to this was, but it was basically like a mech parody comedy show. I noticed that it made fun of a lot of like old school mech tropes that I have a passing familiarity with, but as mech isn't really ever been my genre, I found a lot of the jokes just kind of fell flat for me. If I had more experience with it, I'm sure I would have gotten more of an appreciation. I didn't like totally sandbag the whole show though. It did get some chuckles out of me upon occasion, but overall not really my thing. Then I watched Himota House. Now, Himota House is divided into 2 halves. Half 1 is about a group of girls with psychic powers all moving into a house together, and in this house, they discuss how their psychic powers negatively affect their dating life, and also discuss how with trends and various ideas, they can get a boyfriend, so they go out to like a mixer or whatever, like a bar to pick up guys, and they always fail. That's the first half of the show. The second half of the show is the voice actresses doing improv comedy, and they just drop the entire plot, and no, I'm not joking. They literally drop the plot to just straight up do improv comedy for the second half of the show. I have never seen a show just forget that it was a show halfway through, like in the middle of an episode. It was really crazy. Honestly, I thought this one was actually a pretty funny show. The major issue with it is that it has this like the animation is either a series of still frames, and that's not animation, or just god awful like eyesore 3D animation that just causes my eyes to fucking bleed for looking at it. So honestly, probably would be a more enjoyable show if I could look at it for more than 6 seconds. That said, the first half of the show, where it was about the girls trying to get a boyfriend, wasn't even necessarily that interesting. It was more just setting the stage for the overall show. The improv comedy with the voice actresses is the real reason to watch it. After that, I watched Aggressive Retsuko, We Wish You a Metal Christmas. Okay, so to my surprise, the Agretzko Christmas special wasn't just a one-off Christmas episode, it actually was a continuation of the original season. And I won't say more about that, because I do think you should just straight up watch the Agretzko season if you haven't. That said, as an overall Christmas special, We Wish You a Metal Christmas kind of totally fails to capture the spirit of Christmas, but this is an anime, and with the cultural divide, it kind of makes sense that the Japanese don't have a full grasp on the meaning of Christmas. Oh, as an overall episode of Agretzko, though, pretty enjoyable. Not among the best of the series, but definitely a good episode. Just not a great Christmas special, if you know what I mean. And I did actually watch this one on Christmas, so. After that, I watched Anna Mayel. Anna Mayel is about a selfless, she was a middle schooler at the time who saw a cheerleading performance and was like, well, I want to be a cheerleader. And then she tries to form a cheerleading squad. And the whole anime is a sort of cute girls do cute things cheerleading edition, where it's all about the girls forming a cheerleading club and doing cheerleading. It was pretty enjoyable, but I honestly don't have anything to discuss about this. Oh, there was a really good scene, though, where you find out, like, a character was, like, a lesbian, but I felt like it was addressed with an appropriate amount of gravitas, because when she reveals it, it's not, like, played for, like, a comedic effect, or, like, an, like, overly dramatic moment. It, like, stuns the characters briefly, which it should, because this is Japan, which has rampant homophobia, and they like have this like brief look, and then the girl is clearly like made uncomfortable by this, and she's like, oh no, and then like she like goes to get up, and then they like stop her, and they're like, well, we were thinking about how to seduce a guy. Well, I guess we'll think about how to have to seduce a girl instead. And she's like, oh my, like internally, it's like, oh, you accept me. And it's just a good scene. Like, it's just a well-made scene. And that's probably the only thing I remember in Anna Mayel that was worth a damn. That was actually worth talking about. After that, I watched Sora to Umi no Aida. Oh, yeah, okay, so this is about space fishing. Space fishing was created when all of the fish in the world mysteriously disappeared, and so Japan invests all of their resources to create tanks in space and fish in them so they can bring fish back to Earth. How this works, the series doesn't even bother to explain. It's just a shut up, go with it moment. But for 10 years, space fishing has existed in this manner, and this follows the first ever team of women space fishers, because women weren't allowed to space fish until just now, when the series starts. And the opening of the anime addresses the like sexism in the industry, like for the first 1 to 2 episodes, and so do the last 2 episodes. But the vast majority of the series doesn't address this sexism. And what's worse is I've seen people say that this is supposed to be like a commentary on how Japan is allowing women to be fighter pilots, which is a new thing for them. And if so, and this is supposed to be an argument for like allowing women to be fighter pilots, this is a terrible argument, and I will tell you why. Now, I'm not saying that female characters should be perfect and idealized and have no flaws, but what I am saying is that a female character, if you expect me to believe you are going to shove them in a rocket, give them control of expensive materials, shoot them into space, and then expect them to return with humanity's only source of fish, I want to be able to believe that they are capable of doing this, and the 6 girls in this show are so incompetent, it is unbelievable. And what's worse is that if you were to actually follow this through line as an argument for like female empowerment, the show is almost a parody, in that it almost makes an argument for like female disempowerment, and it's like, this is why women shouldn't be space fishermen. Like, it's that bad. Now, granted, I believe that women should be able to be space fishermen / fighter pilots, but holy shit, do I not believe that the 6 main characters of this show should be? I don't think they should be put in charge of anything, let alone a fucking spaceship. Jesus. So it's a fucking train wreck, is what I'm saying. Alright, then I watched Zombieland Saga. Zombieland Saga is about a bunch of animated dead girls, some of which came back about 10 years after they died, and were brought back by a mysterious manager who wants them to revitalize a city/district. I'm not exactly sure what Saga is, by forming an idol group. Actually, this is a pretty fucking good show, if I'm being totally honest. You've probably heard some other YouTubers give this show props, and it's pretty justifiable. It's got good character development. It's got dramatic moments. It's got, even some of the songs is catchy. It's just, they managed to explain, I'm not going to say what his backstory is, but they explain the manager's backstory and why he's doing all of this with... the clip was like 20 seconds, and it was all you needed. It was a beautiful piece of storytelling. Good show. Good show. And then I finished it off with Boarding School Juliet. Now, despite the name, Boarding School Juliet is actually more about Romeo. And let me just say that Romeo is a treat. And Juliet grows on you over the course of the series. And yes, this does prove that I can compliment a male character, and it's not all about the ladies with me. But I digress. Boarding School Juliet is, as you could probably imagine, a sort of romantic comedy take on Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, even though Shakespeare kind of stole that. Anyway. He's basically, it's about a boarding school where half of the school are basically like Europeans, like ambiguous Europeans, and the other half is Japan, because of course they are. And he's from Japan, and she's from ambiguous Europe, and the two sides of the school are at war with each other, and so they can't be together, but he has a thing for her, and he's like, hey, go out with me. And she's like, fuck it, why not? And then over time, they like come together, but it's not like the, like... silly, stupid, comedic ways of, like, them being torn apart, but they actually use character drama and character motivation based on the people that either have their suspicions about them, or have their own agendas, or their own goals, or their own interests to pull them apart. So it doesn't just rely on stupid gag comedy and, like, coincidental scenarios like a lot of other comedies would, but instead is more of a character-driven experience. Honestly, surprisingly enough, pretty good roundup this week. And may I just say that as a pretty good roundup this week, thank you all for watching. I've seen that more people are actually starting to watch this, like, stupid show that I originally made just to fill up time. And I want you to know that if you've made it through this, what appears to be at least a 10-minute video at this point, let alone any of the other episodes, that I genuinely appreciate you watching. And, thank you. Sincerely, thank you. And, I've been Sacrobolic, your Envoy of Hope. And this is about what I've watched this week. I will see you next year. Bye-bye.